Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. So we welcome all the Srinivar Prabhupada disciples, special guests, and other devotees who are present here to witness a historic event this morning at Sri Sri Radha Gopinath Mandir, Chopati, on the occasion of 500th sannyas ceremony of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All through the year, ISKCON has been celebrating various events, and we are very happy here to witness the sannyas ceremony of His Grace Devamrita Prabhu. Devamrita Prabhu is one of the very, very well-respected devotees in the whole of ISKCON. He has been the temple president of Chopati, Belgaum, Vrindavan Dham, and his character is very much loved by the devotees, appreciated by devotees all over the world. And today, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj will be initiating him into the sannyas order. So this morning, there is going to be an endless celebration, beginning from the sannyas ceremony to the celebration of Lord Ram's appearance. So at this point, I would request His Holiness Bhakti Vidyapurna Swami Maharaj to begin his procedures.
यो हरिः स्वस्ति नो अञ्जनासुतो हनुरभागवतो दधातु स्वस्ति स्वस्ति सुमङ्गलैकेशो महन् श्रीकृष्ण सच्चिदानन्दघनः सर्वेश्वरेश्वरो दधातु ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ गोविन्द 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 ॐ तत्सरद्य ब्राह्मण द्वितीय परार्धे श्रीश्वेतवराहकल्पे वैवस्वताख्यमन्वन्तरे अष्टविंशतिकलियुगसप्रथमसन्ध्यायां ब्रह्मणविंशतौ वर्तमानायां चतुर्विंशोत्तरपञ्चशतगौराब्दे उत्तरायणे वसन्तऋतौ विष्णवे मासे गौरपक्षे मेषराशिस्थिते भास्करे नवमितिथौ बुधवारान्वितायां भूमण्डले जम्बूद्वीपे भारतवर्षे भारतखण्डे मेदिभूतस्य सुमेरो दक्षिणे लवनार्णवस्य पश्चिमे कोणे श्रीविग्रहब्राह्मण वैष्णवाग्निसन्निधौ श्री राधागोपीनाथ प्रीत्यर्थं श्री श्रीनाथजी प्रीत्यर्थं सर्ववैष्णव प्रीत्यर्थम् अस्मिन् श्रीरामनवमी शुभदिवसे संन्यासकर्मणि वयं करिष्यामहे ॐ तद्विष्णोः परमं पदग्गं सदा पश्यन्ति सूरयः दिवीव चक्षुराददं तद्विप्रासो विपण्यवो जग्रिवागं सस्समिन्धते विष्णोर्यत्परमं पदम् ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. I think I can hear. Means that purified or unpurified, if one takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he is pure inside and out. So that's the basis of the ceremony, is that no matter what one's background, whatever one's position, one actually attains to the transcendental position by remembering the Lord. And so that is the whole purpose purpose of the ceremony is to acknowledge that this devotee has taken up the position of dedicating himself completely to the preaching mission, and that everything, his whole absorption will be in the Supreme Lord, and so that establishes him as pure at all times, all places, and all circumstances.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna know me, where His Grace Devamrita Prabhu will be taking the vows of a sannyasi in the renounced order of life. I'd like to read this verse from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Etam sa asthaya paratmanishtam atyashitam purvatamayar mahadvi aham tarishyami duranta param tamo mukundangrini sevayaiva. As a Brahmin from Avanti Desh said, I shall cross over the insurmountable ocean of nescience by being firmly fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Krishna. This was approved by the previous acharyas who were fixed in firm devotion to the Lord Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This ceremony of Devamrita Prabhu's sannyas is taking place on the 500th anniversary of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepting sannyas. After the Lord took sannyas in Katwa, he was roaming in ecstatic love through Radha Desh, again and again chanting this particular verse, which Srila Prabhupada and all of our previous acharyas explain to encapsulate the true spirit of a sannyasi. To cross over the ocean, insurmountable ocean of nescience, by being firmly fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Krishna. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas, he established a standard of the very purpose of sannyas in the Vaishnava Sampradaya. The danda, Tridanda, represents dedicating one's body, one's mind, one's words, and then there is a fourth part of the danda which represents the jiva, one's very life, exclusively to the service of Mukunda. Sannyas means with no other distractions, no other responsibilities. Srila Prabhupada sometimes said, when you take sannyas, you are civilly dead from that day on. In other words, at that point, we have no possessions, we have no position, except to be the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was telling his devotees why he wanted to take sannyas, he kept saying, I'm feeling separation from Krishna. I want to attain Krishna. He approached Keshav Bharati and said, please give me love for Krishna. Give me sannyas. And also Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas to reach the fallen souls. A family person can be a pure devotee, but the special facility of a sannyasi is the whole world becomes your family. The whole world becomes your concern. No longer bound to the financial and domestic responsibilities of just a few people. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas essentially for these two purposes. In the Gambhira, in Jagannath Puri, for the closing 12 years of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life, he was in the ecstasy of feeling separation from Krishna, in the mood of Sri Radharani. And in the previous years of his sannyas, he roamed to all the provinces of southern and western India. He roamed through many of the places of northern India. He's freely giving Krishna prema through Krishna Nam to everyone and anyone. So this is our tradition, that one takes this vows for the purpose of exclusively dedicating oneself to sharing pure bhakti with the world. Ramchandra, he left home. He renounced everything of Ayodhya, essentially for the same reasons. His main reason for leaving internally was to kill Ravana and to kill all of Ravana's armies. That was one of the main purposes of his descent. And he did it with his bows and arrows. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, same purpose, but instead of killing Ravanas with bows and arrows, he took sannyas to kill the Ravana mentality in people with the weapon of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. And also similarly, when Sri Ramchandra left home, renounced everything, that was the time when he experienced Vipralamba Seva, intense separation from Sita, and Sita experienced that separation from Ram. Interesting, Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna in one, or Sita Ram. So Mahaprabhu took sannyas, that means Radha and Krishna took sannyas, and Sita and Ram renounced everything and left home for the purpose of ridding Ravana, and also they experienced that intense separation from each other in their renunciation, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu experienced that separation in the Gambhira as a sannyasi. So to cultivate pure love of God in the mood of separation, and to preach the glories of the holy name all over the world. That is the very essence of sannyas. Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport, although acceptance of Tridanda sannyas is not distinctly mentioned in the Gaudiya Vaishnava literature, the first verse of Sri Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamrita advocates that one should accept the Tridanda sannyas order by controlling the six forces. Vacho vegam, manasakroda vegam, jiva vegam, udaropasta vegam, etan vegam yo visaheta dhira, sarvam apimam prithvim sashishyat. One who can control the forces of speech, mind, anger, belly, tongue, and genitals is known as a Goswami and is competent to accept disciples all over the world. The followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never accepted the Mayavad order of sannyas, and for this they cannot be blamed. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Sridhar Swami, who was a Tridandi sannyas. So it means to renounce the selfish ego, the things of this world. Now this Vacho Vegam Manasakroda Vegam, this verse, the impersonalist sannyasis also control their senses. But in the Vaishnava order, the purpose of controlling our senses is to utilize them wholly and fully in the loving service of the Supreme Personality of God. The crest jewel of all sannyasis were the six Goswamis. Some of my godbrothers, when they took sannyas from Srila Prabhupada, one of them asked Prabhupada, what are the duties of a sannyasi? Srila Prabhupada said, you should study the lives of the six Goswamis and you will learn everything. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a very concise description of Lord Chaitanya of what a sannyasi's duties are. Raghunath Das Goswami, when he had just come to Puri, after some time, he was put in the charge of Swarup Damodar Goswami. And Raghunath Das Goswami was so humble. Now he is the Prayojana Acharya of our Sampradaya. That means he is demonstrating by his example and his writings the highest essence of pure love of Krishna in the service of Srimati Radharani. But we can't understand the books of the Goswamis unless we try to follow in the footsteps of their behavior. Raghunath Das Goswami never spoke to Lord Chaitanya, never asked him a question. Whatever questions he had, whatever message he wanted to give, he always through Swarup Damodar Goswami, because he was really in the mood of the servant of the servant. He felt unqualified. He felt very fallen, always, as did Rupan Sanatan. So one day, Swarup Damodar Goswami approached Lord Chaitanya along with Raghunath Das Goswami and said, Raghunath has a question. He wanted me to ask you. He has left his household life and all of his riches. He wants to know now, what is his duty, because he doesn't know. What is the duty of one in the renounced order of life? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, crest jewel of all sannyasis, he also showed humility. He said, actually, Swarup Damodar Goswami knows better than me. But since you asked me, I will give you an answer. Gramya katana shunibe, gramya varatana kohibe, balana koibe yar balana poribe. You should not speak like people in general. And you should not hear what they say. This especially has to do with prajalpa, criticizing other, gossiping, taking pleasure in mundane subject matters. Raghunath Das Goswami said, gossip is like a prostitute that steals away one's inclination to serve Radha and Krishna. Renunciation means no gossip, no fault-finding or criticizing. To use one's tongue to glorify Krishna, to glorify the Vaishnavas, for devotional service. And he said you should not eat too much or very palatable dishes, and you should not dress luxuriously. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said the first principle for a Vaishnava is simplicity. Simplicity of habits. Simplicity especially of heart. That means no duplicity. No ulterior motives. To be very sincere, very honest. So we should eat simple. Prabhupada said that we eat to serve. Whatever is required to best nourish our body for the loving service of Krishna. That is sannyas. And we dress in a simple way because we want to attract people to Krishna, not to ourselves. And then Mahaprabhu gave a second verse. Amani manadahoya Krishna nam sadalabe braje radha Krishna seva manase koribe. You should not expect any respect for yourself, but you should offer all respect to others. And you should constantly chant the holy names of Krishna. And in your mind, you should always be engaged in the service of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Now this very concise, comprehensive message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very much in chronological order. If we give up gossip, we give up sense gratification, and if we actually humble ourselves to offer all respects to others and expect none in return, then we could chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. And until we could chant the holy name constantly, we can't genuinely and really meditate on the beautiful, loving pastimes of Radha Krishna and Vrindavan as their servant. So chanting the holy name precedes this manasa seva, to develop this deep, genuine taste for the chanting of the holy names. After explaining renunciation in this spirit, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Raghunath Das Goswami, for all the details of what I just said, you should hear from Swarup Damodar Goswami, because he is expert. And then Mahaprabhu concluded his explanation of what it means to be in the renounced order with a familiar verse. Trinadapi sunichena tador ibasihishnuna amani namanadena kirtanaya sadahari. In essence, this verse encapsulates what a sannyasi is in heart. To be humbler than a blade of grass, more tolerant than the tree, to be ready to offer all respect to others and expect none in return, In this way, one can chant the holy names of the Lord constantly. Ramchandra went to the forest and renounced everything on the order of his father. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received the order from his guru to spread this Nam Sankirtan all over the world. He accepted that as an order of superior. And similarly, our own beloved Guru Maharaj, our founder Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He had repeated Guru dreams of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was taking him by the hand to bring him and become a sannyasi. Take sannyas. And it was difficult. Prabhupada had so many responsibilities, so many people depending on him. But for the same purpose and in the same exact spirit as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the six Goswamis, in 1959 in Mathura at the Kesavaji Gaudiya Math, Srila Prabhupada accepted sannyas. And he took that order as his life and soul. And he is our founder and our acharya. To follow in his footsteps is our perfection. After Prabhupada took sannyas, he prepared himself, even before, but especially after, he prepared himself to fulfill the order of his guru and spread the message of Lord Chaitanya all over the world. What a sannyasi. He left alone with a little umbrella, bag of cereal, and a box of books, boarded the Jaladuta Friday the 13th of August, 1965. Such determination, such an example. 38 days over the sea, seasickness, heart attacks, no care. Came off the boat. When he first came off, he didn't see anybody. He looked right, he looked left. But he knew, I have the holy name, I have my guru's instruction, and I have this box of books, Srimad Bhagavatam. So he said he wasn't at all concerned. He had everything. And he endured much. Death threats, poverty, being away from Vaishnavas for so long, just to give pure Krishna consciousness to others. Yes, Prabhupada was crest jewel of sannyasi, following perfectly in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And for the purpose of assisting him in this great mission, Srila Prabhupada invited his disciples to take sannyas. Because it was so important to have proper sannyasis who were free to just travel and give Krishna consciousness to others with no other responsibilities. Prabhupada took a risk of giving young people who are not necessarily so highly qualified. But if they just surrendered to his will, they would become qualified. And Prabhupada was very, very proud that his devotees were taking this step, making this supreme sacrifice as an act of compassion to others. Within the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, taking sannyas means I have no other concern or responsibility than to exclusively, with great determination, to offer my life to be an instrument of Srila Prabhupada's compassion. By our example, by our words. And today, Devamrita Prabhu is very sincerely coming forward to take these vows truly in the spirit that Srila Prabhupada desired. Devamrita Prabhu was an executive manager of one of the most prominent banks in all of India, getting promotions regularly. He could have been one of the biggest bankers in the world by now. There's no doubt. Multi-millionaire. The Goswamis gave it up after. He gave it up before. Following in their footsteps in his own way. But I remember once at the Kumbh Mela in Allahabad, same place that Prabhupada accepted first and second initiation from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati in Prayag. I remember there, I was discussing with Devamrita Prabhu with a group of people. He happened to be there. That we require people who are willing to give up everything for the purpose of helping Prabhupada spread this Krishna consciousness movement. And a few days later, Devamrita Prabhu approached me. He said, I want to give up my job and join the Brahmachari ashram. He did it for that reason. He gave up an extremely high-paying job that had a future that was incredible. And in those days, the Brahmachari ashram here, the temple didn't look like this. It was really a rat-infested ghetto of a place. And he gave all that up. More than that, he's the only son of his parents. He took a great step forward, and he never turned back. And how he surrendered his life, I was so fortunate to witness. Unconditionally, wholesale, no ulterior motives. Always so humble, always so gentle and graceful, so kind, even in the most difficult situations. And how he studied Prabhupada's books, because so deeply learned. And because of his devotional qualities, when he learned something, it was with realization. It wasn't just repeating. When Devamrita Prabhu speaks Prabhupada's philosophy, which he does so eloquently, so comprehensively, because he does it with such genuine compassion, concern for others, with such dedication to our parampara, it has great potency. And we have seen that. How he attracted super excellent devotees to join this movement. and how he gave so much encouragement and inspiration to so many other devotees, both brahmacharis, grihastas, sannyasi also. In the very difficult formative years of Radha Gopinath's temple, for several years he was our temple president. We worked very hand in hand together. And then when he told me that it's just so much burden of things on him, he'd like to just preach. So we freed him from this service, and he went to IIT and to other colleges and established a very powerful program and brought so many beautiful devotees to our society, like Radhe Shyam and Gauranga Prabhus. And he started spending a lot of time at Bhaktivedanta Hospital to give spiritual association to our core medico team, because he understood the vision of that. He was very instrumental in helping at Gopal's garden by giving beautiful inspiration. He was very much always helpful and dedicated to push forward the counselor system. He did an all-India debate contest for Prabhupada's centennial, which really spread Krishna consciousness in a very wonderful way. Colleges all over India. Seeing the potential in Belgaum. He went to Belgaum, became temple president there, did tremendous, unbelievable service, starting a farm community. And he was getting repeated requests to go to Vrindavan, which is a very difficult service. One day he asked me, what do you think? For the last so many months, leaders in India are requesting me to do this service. I said, it's going to be the hardest thing you have ever done. I can't tell you to do it. I can't even ask you to do it, because I know it's going to be really difficult. But I will say this, that there's no greater service that you can do for Prabhupada or his mission than doing it. The decision is yours. And he became the president of Vrindavan and did wonderful, wonderful service there. And during that time, many people, leaders, were asking me, why don't you give them sannyas? I never talked. Devamrita Prabhu never once in all these years even mentioned taking sannyas. That's just his nature. He's not ambitious for any position. He just wants to serve. But I felt I never said this to anyone. I just listened and was quiet. As long as he's president of Vrindavan, it's not a good mentality for him to cultivate sannyas, because it's just dealing with too many things. So when he stepped on, he's still involved in Vrindavan very much, but free from all the heavy management pressures. I asked him, would you like to take sannyas? He said, what do you think? I'll do what you say. I said, it's your choice, but I feel it will be a great service for you to do. And Devamrita Prabhu, he said, if that's what the Vaishnava community wants me to do, I'm ready and willing to do it. I said, when are you ready? He said, well, this year is Lord Chaitanya's 500th anniversary of sannyas. I would feel greatly blessed if I could do it this year. Now that wasn't an easy task, because according to the GBC, you're put on, at his age, I believe it's a 4-year waiting list. And then you have to go through a whole review by the sannyas committee and the GBC before being moved up to the 3-year waiting list, and then the 2. To give someone sannyas the first year, in fact, just a couple months after they're put on the sannyas list, is practically unheard of in our society since the system has been set up. It needs a 4/5 vote on the entire GBC. So we presented it to the sannyas committee and to the GBC, and it was practically unanimous that he take this year. Why is that? Because so many people know Devamrita Prabhu, not only in our own congregation, but throughout our whole society, as being a person who has no ulterior motives, a very pure-hearted devotee who simply wants to serve, gentle, humble, and so dedicated to Prabhupada and his mission. For the devotees of Radha Gopinath Temple, this is a very special occasion, because there are some people here who preach to him to make him a devotee. Many of our senior devotees were here when he first joined. And even those people, he's like a Shiksha Guru to them. And so many of us, through inconceivable difficult times here, and through the more prosperous times, we've had this intimate family relationship, and Devamrita Prabhu has been a very, very special leader of our family. So today, with extreme joy and extreme gratitude toward Devamrita Prabhu, we will, on behalf of Srila Prabhupada, offer him the service of a sannyasi. Thank you very much. This time we would like some of our senior Prabhupada disciples to speak.
Just want to go from a point that Radhanath Maharaj had brought out that I thought was very important. Mic. It's like swallow it kind of mic. I think Srila Prabhupada mentioned this modern invention is so wonderful you have to swallow it to make it work. That this combination between the instructions of Lord Chaitanya to Raghunath Das Goswami and the third verse of the Shikshastakam, that they're actually explaining the same thing. That the detail that's there, then it brings out the depth, because from seeing what is given in the Shastras, all the different etiquettes, all the different social rules and that, actually they all come back to these 4 points. If one is humble, one is tolerant, one respects others, one expects nothing for oneself in return, then he can always be absorbed in the chanting. He can always be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. So then in this, the Prajalpa, the element of that we see is the it is not dealing with knowledge. And when in Gita it is described knowledge, the first point is humility. If humility is there, then the other 19 points that are given can be established. So that humility, then comes this whole broad range of knowledge. So that means then the whole, both here and this, the sannyas and the etiquette is based on knowledge. One has knowledge, one has understanding. And so all the qualities, all the activities that are there then can be expanded from this. Then even more what I thought was a wonderful revelation that Maharaj gave was the connection of the tolerance to the first verse of the Upadeshamrita. Because actually it's if one can tolerate the urges, so this was the connection, this was the seed word that would connect, is that actually these we'll take control of the senses, but the thing is tolerating the pushing, because they exist, they make themselves known, so it's just a matter of tolerating. It's not like gritting your teeth or clenching your fists or something. So then this will broadens out the range, what actually tolerance means. Because sometimes I think it's just, we tolerate, it's more of a political kind of consideration. Or so we don't like it, but, we're going to just live with it or something. But here it's actually the control of the senses that one does not, starting with the tongue, one is not criticizing. Because if the criticism is there, that will disturb the mind, that'll create anger. And if that's there, then one is situated with self in ignorance. One can't be situated in goodness. One can't be situated in knowledge. So that lack of criticizing others, because prajalpa basically means criticizing of others. In his commentary to these verses of Upadeshamrita, then Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the Bhakti Aloka then mentions that discussion of the devotees, there are difficulties, this and that, if it is not for the specific purpose of helping that devotee or another devotee in this area, then it's prajalpa, even though it's about devotees. Oh, this one did this one did that, this one fell down, or this did this. So these considerations then, if it's wrongness, actually aren't based on devotional service. Because it's wrong because then one is not situated nicely in proper knowledge and tolerance, so that then one will be able to offer that respect to others. But it's actually just based on this kind of behavior stands as bad on its own. And then if it stands as bad on its own, what is the authority for that? What is authorizing that improper behavior is bad? So if it's not the scriptures, if it's not what the acharyas have given, if it's not what Lord Chaitanya has given, then the point has been missed. Because ultimately, as all these points are brought out, sannyas means the internal, the full situation and the internal meaning of varnashram. That's explained by Gopal Bhatta Goswami, that in varnashram, the external is the form that it takes, but the internal is that mood of surrender to Krishna. In other words, my nature, I engage in Krishna's service. Mother Yashoda's nature is that of a mother. She engages that in Krishna's service. The gopis is that of friends. Engage that in Krishna's service. So varnashram means you take your conditioned nature, engage that in Krishna's service. So that's the actual internal meaning. So sannyas means then body, mind, and words. That can be engaged. While in others then, as Maharaj was pointing out, is though it is connected. One is connected to family life, one is seeing all these things, one is following the directions given in the third canto, second canto, one is able to see all the little details and connection with the Lord, but as it's pointed out, Maharaj pointed out, it's only for a very minimal amount of people. You'll get benefit, of course, but then only the family members, a few other people get the benefit. So sannyas means that one can manifest this fully, is that it's not a few people get the benefit, but the whole world can get the benefit. So that's the purpose. So it becomes the crown jewel. That's why it's considered special within the Vedic system. Because of this ability to the whole, everything, one's full surrender can be taken of, be given an advantage to everyone rather than a few, like that. So, yes, so I just wanted to, I thought it was a brilliant explanation that these things were connected. And I think that makes it very easy to know, okay, humility then means all these different aspects, that these, it says the ornament of knowledge is humility. So someone who has knowledge, he's humble, and only someone who's humble can gain knowledge, right? And someone who's tolerant then is able to control these 6 pushings. Then he is able actually to preach to the whole world, then actually you have to respect. You have to not expect anything. Preaching means respect because you're taking it that who you're talking to is Krishna's servant, an eternal servant of Krishna. And they have every ability and right as anyone else to take up God consciousness. The external is just, the particular conditioning of today. So today they think they're this or that or so many things. Or today they're doing this nonsense or that nonsense. But that actually is not the soul. So the soul is respected. And taking a point where Maharaj also mentioned about when Prabhupada Goswami, he had his books. So then there's the standard, the basic minimum is that the sannyasi is never alone because there's him and the super soul. That's why it's the essence. Take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the super soul. So you're always together, you're never alone. So here then the books then become the instructions and going beyond just Paramatma where he's controlling the material energy, but going on to the transcendental realm so that it even takes it a step further, the instructions. So one always has that, so one's never alone. So that instruction then that can be given to anyone. And we see that's the specialness of these great preachers, why Srila Prabhupada or Prahlad Maharaj, Haridas Thakur stood out, is because they would see past the externals to the actual living entity themselves. So that respect got the attention of those living entities. So they could turn anyone into devotees. Right? It means even when Haridas Thakur at Benapole, the prostitute came. He didn't get out of here, like this and that. It's just, no, you wait. It's just, I have to finish my chanting. It's my sadhana. You can understand that. Everyone has a duty. So I finish this. You have your duties. I have mine. So I should finish mine properly. Otherwise, I'll be distracted. How will I be able to take care of your needs? And so by doing this, then it would only be out of respect he could do this. And the result was this person completely surrendered. Absolute complete surrender. So it's as one is able to see this, then this is so... yes. So I just wanted to point out that it was... there's a lot more here than just a very enthusing talk that Maharaj gave. Very deep, it means technical... how you can perfect technically, since as Maharaj pointed at, you're an intelligent person, you're an analytical person, how you can analyze what actually technically is my duties, how to perfect that through seeing these here, like that. So that has come to here, my mind. And so, end here. Thank you. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. I'd like to begin by saying I'm deeply honored to be here for this ceremony. And the more I take part in this ceremony, I realize how important and how wonderful this particular ceremony is. And I'm very grateful and very honored to be here. I don't know what I could say philosophically in terms of what has not been said. Both in Maharaj has covered some of the deeper aspects of the process of executing one's duty in the mood of the renounced order of life, and one's position in relationship to other living entities. But I would like to say that over the years, I've been coming here for the last 15 years at least, since 1994, 93 actually. And I've met Devamrita Prabhu, and since I've known him and since I've associated with him, spoke with him, and even together worked on a few things together, I've seen all the qualities of a Vaishnava in what we say full-blown. His humility, his sensitivity to others' feelings and ideas. You know, he has such a deep sense of, can relate to others very deeply of what they're thinking and how, what is they're experiencing. And his ability to present Krishna consciousness in such a very simple but very powerful way. I think, and when I also heard when Maharaj was speaking about his service to go to Vrindavan and be the temple president, it was obviously one of the greatest challenges that anyone could have. And I remember I was speaking to Devamrita Prabhu just before he entered into that service. He mentioned, after he got there, that someone said to him, "Welcome, you're the 19th temple president in the last 19 years. Good luck." So it was really quite unnerving to be put into such a situation where there was such heavy responsibility coming from all angles. But what he did, and how he did it, and how he maintained his Krishna consciousness is amazing. I think one of the most outstanding qualities he has, and one that he has many, but one he has is really deep determination. When he fixes his mind on doing something, he gets it done. He's very gentle, very respectful, very gracious, but inside he has such determination and such dedication to doing his service in such a way that it is done with the most utmost care and the most utmost intelligence. I don't know what I can say as an instruction. All I can say is I honor this personality and I wish him the best in his future preaching. But one thing I would like to say, that I can only reflect on my own, activities within the sannyas order, which I saw as one of the most difficult things, and that is the facilities that come by way of this ashram, the praise, the facilities that is given to the sannyas order, as far as giving utmost respect, attention, and that these things, one has to be very, very careful, because ultimately, if one somehow becomes dependent on others in any aspects of one's life, one starts to lose one's clear vision of one's duty. Therefore, it's mentioned that a sannyasi, especially one in that renounced order, is simply dependent on the mercy of the Lord only. It may come through other people, but one is not attached to that. One is attached only get more material situations, nice places to stay, nice prasadam, praise, honor, respect, and so many other things. But these are their opportunities for service, that's all. If we take them to heart, if we actually think they are for us, we can somehow lose proper vision of what our position is. We simply depend on the Lord. So we have seen over the years in our ISKCON society so many dedicated, serious, and what we say, committed persons to Srila Prabhupada's mission somehow slip from this ashram. So one should be very careful, especially in accepting all these external facilities that are simply meant for our service. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was a revolutionary in using material things to serve Krishna. But when it came to individual needs, he would not allow his sannyasis to use any of the facilities of the ashram for personal needs. He said, if you have some business on your own sense, your own personal business, you cannot use the cars or any of the facilities, you simply walk. Although he was so much, we say, understanding the principle of yukta vairagya, he made that clear distinction between one's own needs and one's preaching. So we should be also very careful in accepting these external things and become somewhat very much detached from this desire, because if we somehow or other look towards these things, because they will come and people want to give them. And if we start to expect them, then it becomes, what we say, a feature of losing our clear understanding of our relationship with Krishna and our service as in a renounced order of life. So I'm saying this for myself because I like to hear this also. I need to hear this because I think this is one of the most dangerous aspects of sannyas order, is the facilities that come by way of the position. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in Madhurya Kandambini, this is called Ranga Tarangini, and that is one of the reasons why people fall. So we are simply happy and inspired by the opportunity for service. That is our happiness, to be able to serve the mission of the spiritual master, and to be able to inspire persons to take up Krishna consciousness and to spread the glories of the holy name. I'm really happy to be here, and this is a very special occasion. As Maharaj mentioned, Devamrita Prabhu was a very highly positioned person within the secular society. Persons who would look at him from any position would think that person is very successful. He gave it all up simply to dedicate his life to Krishna consciousness. Now he's even giving up any other opportunities for any other situations to become completely, as we say, the renounced order is a beggar. So most beggars want to become bankers, but this banker has become a beggar. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. I remember when I was very fortunate 3 years ago in Vrindavan. We've heard how Devamrita Prabhu, for many years, we were very fortunate to have his association in Vrindavan Dham. He also was there when I had this wonderful opportunity to take this responsibility of sannyas, to oversee the ceremony. And he'll probably remember how the ceremony seemed to take a constant refocus for kirtan. Practically between every opportunity, somehow or another kirtan broke out. Lokanath Maharaj, of course, was giving the sannyas. It was a wonderful experience. Today we're experiencing another wonderful aspect in terms of hearing the glories of a Vaishnava, someone who's truly qualified to receive such glory. This is very purifying for all of us, to hear the glories of others and to feel such happiness to hear this. Those are actually glorious. So, we didn't chant Hare Krishna. This is another aspect of sannyas. Srila Prabhupada said, we should always be chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When Vishnu Jan Maharaj took sannyas in the early 70s, Srila Prabhupada said that sannyas, we all have our parts to play, as Maharaj mentioned, offering whatever Krishna has given to us, whatever we are, surrendering that for the pleasure of the Lord, pleasure of the Guru. We all know the great contribution of Vishnu Jan Maharaj to our movement, especially in the world of kirtan. Also wonderful Vaishnava qualities. And Prabhupada said to him when he took sannyas, he said, sannyas means you chant and dance. And you get everyone else to dance and chant. So whatever wonderful thing we may have been given, understanding that this is simply Krishna's mercy, let us share that with others. One little thing, I don't know if this is too much to ask. In a Upadeshamrita, Srila Prabhupada describes, well, in the preface, how before becoming a pure devotee, we must all become Goswamis. As has been mentioned, it's not just an external title or dress. It's an internal state of consciousness. We all have to work towards it. So one little thing, I know it's very nice to hear the entertaining sounds of mobiles going off every few minutes, but perhaps it's too much to ask, but a step towards renunciation. Maybe you can turn the mobiles off or remove them from the arena. It's a small thing, but Srila Prabhupada did not like these type of things to disturb such an important event as today. Please do so. Anyway, back to today's event. As Chandramauli Maharaj has mentioned, how fortunate we are and privileged we are to be here. Of course, I've been very fortunate to have spent over the last 4 or 5 years a lot of time with Devamrita Prabhu. He's been very kind to always give us such nice facility and nice association in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Practically, I didn't know who he was until he came to Vrindavan. I didn't even know if he was a brahmachari or a grihasta. I had no idea. And when he came, previously we'd been asked to spend time in Vrindavan, and then Devamrita Prabhu came there 4 years or so ago, and it was such a wonderful experience. I can honestly say, from my own personal experience, perhaps the most wonderful devotee I've associated with. He's such an inspiration, so much to learn from just being around him. I'm sure that taking this responsibility today of accepting the order of sannyas will only increase the wonderful qualities which Srila Prabhupada, which Krishna have given this to Devamrita Prabhu, and which he's imbibed from his guru. We hear that you can judge a tree by the fruit, so we can judge from the fruit of Devamrita Prabhu's association. Wonderful, wonderful spiritual master who has been inspiring him and guiding him. But I feel that he's going to increase that distribution of these wonderful qualities by accepting this responsibility far and near, traveling further afield, spending more time in other countries, in other places, but not, of course, letting go of his service in Vrindavan and Belgaum and other places. I saw him in the very beginning there in Vrindavan, a service which is very sweet and very inspiring, serving the devotees prasadam personally, making sure, taking care that all the devotees, as much as possible, were looked after. They were getting nice prasadam as much as possible in that very difficult situation, trying to satisfy the needs of everyone, trying to accommodate even the very, say, polarized sometimes impressions or feelings of others, even those who are seemingly antagonistic sometimes, how he would consider their point of view and do everything he could to try to somehow or another work cooperatively together. It's a wonderful spirit of sannyas, of how to bring everyone together to perform this great yajna, this Sankirtan yajna, of offering whatever we have in the service of the Lord. And although officially we took sannyas, I learned so much during these 4 years of the mood of sannyas, this simple mood, this humble mood, this mood of understanding that although sannyas, we usually, as we've heard, we may receive so much respect, but the real meditation is that sannyasi is the master of no one. Our business is to see ourselves as a servant of everyone. Everyone is our master. Our only existence in life is how we can serve others, how we can assist Srila Prabhupada in delivering everyone else from this illusion of seeing ourselves in the center. So I'd like to thank Devamrita Prabhu, and certainly I hope that we get much of his association and continue to learn how to serve Srila Prabhupada more and more pleasingly. I've been staying in his room in Vrindavan for the last 3 weeks in his absence. But not really in his absence, I was always thinking of him whilst I was in there. He sleeps on the floor. That was a nice experience. No maybe, I don't know, but I saw no mattress, nothing there. Very simple lifestyle. Eats very simply. We've already heard that from his Guru Maharaj. How these are qualities, natural qualities. It's completely natural. He's already more than our business. Of course, sannyas is only to facilitate the mission, as we've heard. More than a sannyasi. Naham vipro na chanarapiti napi Vaishnava shudro. Naham varni na chigriapiti novana stoya tirva. Kinto projan nikila paramananda punamitabda gopya bhata kapa parakamalam dasa dasa anudasa. He's showing us, or at least showing myself, how we can become the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, 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 servant. And this is the wonderful experience we have when we come here. We see it in Chaupati and wherever we go, how this mood, this wonderful mood of serving, this is the essence of our existence. This is the essence of a leader. Today on Ram Navami, I see you've titled the beautiful altar of Sri Ramchandra, the ideal king. I hope and pray that Devamrita Prabhu will become an ideal representative of the order of sannyas and will inspire all of us to progress in our devotional service. And also, as Radhanath Maharaj has been describing, giving up all other considerations and attachments except for the will, the desire of pleasing Krishna. So I'd like to thank him very much for taking this step today, is certainly going to inspire me, and I'm sure every one of us here today. And I hope it will inspire the whole world. And perhaps it will also inspire many bankers. There's a lot about bankers today. Many bankers around the world to surrender to Krishna. After all, Kali Yuga is primarily, has a grip on the whole world through the false monetary system. So if we can get some of these bankers on our side, maybe there will be a wave of change in this age of Kali. Let us see. Jai Devamrita Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Jai Haribol. Thank you.
Yadubara. Nama Om Shnubadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Swami iti namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Bacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskita Desatarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. I think I am certainly honored, like all of us are, to be in this wonderful gathering of Vaishnavas. Actually, according to my plan, I shouldn't even be here because I was due to leave March 16th back to America. But due to some complications with a surgery that I had at Bhaktivedanta Hospital, by Krishna's grace, I am here. So I'm very happy. I take that as a great mercy, although some of you know that quite a bit of suffering went on a personal level in recuperation. But I was thinking that previous to sitting here and hearing the talks today, that I shouldn't have gone through that operation because of the difficulty in recuperation. But now I am very thankful I did. And not only for being here today, but for many reasons, also internal reasons of purification. So it's very inspiring to hear from Radhanath Swami the reasons for taking sannyas. There were two reasons that stood out in my mind. I think he gave two reasons, and one is to come closer to Krishna, which certainly we all want, and the other is to give up our lives for the benefit of others. It was mentioned the world. And I think that's also what we would like, all of us, to one degree or the other. And actually that's possible, that spirit of sannyas and that desire to take sannyas for these reasons can be manifested in our lives in whatever position we are. We've seen since my stay here, especially with Vaishnava Seva Prabhu and his good wife Kalindi Mataji, how they are preaching on a very broad scale, even though they are very, very busy in their own household lives. They are fully engaged in preaching. So this is very inspiring. And again, we can actually apply these two principles to our lives, wanting to become closer to Krishna and also devoting part of our time and activity to preaching for the benefit of others. So Devamrita Prabhu is such an inspiration. I remember in 2006 we came to Vrindavan for the release of our first DVD in our series following Srila Prabhupada. And it was a wonderful event. We had probably 1,000 devotees come and gather, all desiring to hear from Srila Prabhupada and see his images and also hear from his followers. We had one screen for the ladies and one screen for the men, huge screens, side by side. And his part in organizing that, I pretty much just showed up, wanting to do this event, and he gave us all time and facility to do that with a very, very wonderful outcome. So I just got a little taste of his humility, generosity, and good management. So we are very happy to see this event today, that he's taking this wonderful step. It inspires all of us. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada mentions in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when he's commenting on that verse by the Avantipur Brahmana, two words stand out, Paramatma Nishtam. So Srila Prabhupada explains that Paramatma Nishtam means to be fully engaged in devotional service. This is the hallmark of a sannyasi. Srila Prabhupada asked Gurudas, what does a sannyasi mean? And he rightly replied, to be ready to serve Krishna 24 hours a day. Now we see that certainly Devamrita Prabhu has that quality to want to serve Krishna, and I personally experienced while he was president in Vrindavan that he gave it everything, all of his energy. Sometimes he would be completely exhausted at the end of the day with all the different situations in Vrindavan that he handled. So one might say, well, he's already serving Krishna 24 hours a day. Why take sannyas? Right? So what comes to my mind, what other devotees have expressed so nicely, but I'll say it again, is that it gives an example to the other devotees. Every society needs good examples, shining lights, or heroes, as you say, for them to be inspired also to devotional service. So, Devamrita Prabhu is taking this role of inspiring. He's already doing that. I saw myself. He inspired so many people to do so many things in Vrindavan. But this is an extra facility to do that even better. So today is a very auspicious day. Lord Ramchandra's appearance day. And this is a very auspicious ceremony, the sannyas ceremony. So we're benefiting so much on this day by being able to participate in and observe this auspicious ceremony on this very wonderful day. But we should give all of our good wishes and all of our blessings to Devamrita Prabhu, so that he may continue more and more to inspire people to take the Krishna consciousness more and more. Hare Krishna.
Me? What about? Okay.
शन्नो मित्र शं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्वर्यमा शन्नो इंद्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मा अवतु तद्भक्तारम् अवतु अवतु माम् अवतु भक्तारम् ओम शांति 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 हरि ओम. With or without permission, मैं अंग्रेजी में नहीं बोलूँगा, हिंदी में बोलना चाहता हूँ. हिंदुस्तान में राष्ट्रभाषा वास्तव में संस्कृत होना चाहिए, लेकिन हिंदी है. कदाचित भारते संस्कृतं राष्ट्रभाषा भविष्यति इति आशा. संन्यास के बारे में पूज्य राधानाथ जी महाराज, पूज्य चंद्रमौली जी महाराज, पूज्य जनानंद महाराज सब आपको समझाया. मैं भी त्यागी नहीं हूँ, इसलिए संन्यास के बारे में ज़्यादा बोलना मेरे लिए उचित नहीं है. लेकिन प्रभुपाद महाराज ने कहा कि संन्यास एक उपाधि है प्रचार करने के लिए. कलयुग में संन्यास वर्णाश्रम धर्म के दृष्टि में संन्यास आश्रम 75 वर्षों के पश्चात के लिए है. और उस प्राचीन संन्यास पद्धति ऐसे है कि सब कुछ छोड़ के वन में चले जाना और मरने के लिए प्रतीक्षा करना. हाँ, यही संन्यास. इसलिए एक श्लोक है, अश्वमेध गवालंबम संन्यास फलपैतृकम देवरेण सुतोत्तप्तम कलो पंच विवर्जयेत. 5 वस्तु कलयुग में निषेध है और एक उसमें से है संन्यास आश्रम. क्योंकि ऐसे त्याग और संन्यास करना आसान नहीं है. और आजकल हम देख नहीं सकते कि कोई ऐसे संन्यास आश्रम ग्रहण करते हैं. तो संन्यास किसके लिए है? चैतन्य महाप्रभु इसलिए संन्यास लिया प्रचार हेतु. भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर हमारे परम गुरु महाराज ने कहा कि से है प्राण आचे यार से हेतु प्रचार. अगर प्राण हो हमारे जीवन अगर हम जी रहे हैं तो हमको प्रचार करना है. यहाँ राधा गोपीनाथ मंदिर में और खास करके न केवल राधानाथ जी महाराज लेकिन देवामृत प्रभु ने इतने लोगों को प्रचार करने के लिए प्रेरित किया कि हम वर्तमान काल में उनके कोई तुलना नहीं देख सकते. क्योंकि हम देख रहे हैं पूरा भारत में और पूरा दुनिया में इतना भक्तों के संख्या बढ़ाया, हम सब आश्चर्यचकित हो गया. इसलिए मेरा मन में न केवल यही उचित लिखता हूँ कि आज देवामृत प्रभु संन्यास आश्रम ग्रहण करने वाला है प्रचार का विस्तार करने के लिए, लेकिन मेरा विचार है, और मैं भीमा प्रभु को बोल रहा था, भीमा प्रभु सब हिंदी समझते हैं लेकिन मैं आशा है कि यही बड़ी लंबी परंपरा का आरंभ दिन होगा, न केवल
इस्कॉन भारत में, लेकिन खास करके राधा गोपीनाथ मंदिर, इस्कॉन पुणे, आशा है कि देवामृत प्रभु के पीछे राधे श्याम प्रभु क्योंकि ये लोग इतना नैपुण्य प्रदर्शन किया प्रचार कार्य में, उसके लिए व्यवस्था होना चाहिए, उसके लिए सुविधा होना चाहिए प्रचार करने के लिए। और संन्यास आश्रम एक प्रकार की सुविधा है, इसलिए चैतन्य महाप्रभु संन्यास ग्रहण किया। चैतन्य महाप्रभु संन्यास ग्रहण करने में आतुर नहीं थे, लेकिन उन्होंने देखा कि सामान्य जनता अनादर दे रहे थे, उनको मान सम्मान नहीं दे रहे थे। लेकिन जब संन्यास आश्रम ग्रहण किया तो सामान्य जनता का उनके लिए पूरा संपूर्ण परिवर्तन हो गया और मान सम्मान देने लगे। कलयुग ऐसे काल है जिसमें धर्म को अधर्म मानते हैं और धर्म अधर्म को मानते हैं। सामान्य लोगों के बीच में सबसे बड़ा शराबी, सबसे बड़ा व्याभिचारी, सबसे बड़ा झूठ बोलने वाला ये समाज के वीर होते जा रहे हैं। अच्छी बात है यहाँ 500,000 लोग इकट्ठा हो गया आज, लेकिन ये सब पापाचार के लिए कितने लाखों के लोग प्रेरणा मिल रहा है आधुनिक काल में। बहुत बड़ी दुख की बात है। प्रभुपाद दुखी हो गया। प्रभुपाद एक सामान्य गृहस्थ था और संन्यास आश्रम ग्रहण करके उनका एकमात्र लक्ष्य थे विदेश में और खास करके यूएसए में प्रचार करना। और जब उन्होंने सफल प्राप्त किया तो हमारे सफ़ेद नाचने वाला हाथियों को यहाँ खींच करके लाया। किसके लिए? भारतीय लोगों का आकर्षण करने के लिए कि इस संस्कृति और इस वैदिक संस्कृति, वैदिक दर्शन में कुछ है। उनका लक्ष्य थे कि भारत के लोगों को प्रेरणा देना था कि ये प्राचीन संस्कृति नचोड़ना। मैं प्रभुपाद जी महाराज के समक्ष में उपस्थित थे हैदराबाद में 35 साल पहले, और 10,000 लोगों के सामने प्रभुपाद प्रार्थना कर रहे थे कि कृपा करके आप सब आपका संस्कृति मत छोड़ो, आपका संस्कृति का रक्षण करो। मेरा काल अतीत न होना चाहिए क्योंकि काल सीमित है, इसलिए मैं ज़्यादा नहीं बोलूँगा। लेकिन देवामृत प्रभु के बारे में कुछ एक तो शब्द बोलना चाहिए कि उन्होंने अपने चरित्र से लोगों को इतना प्रेरित किया, और आशा है कि संन्यास आश्रम ग्रहण करने के पश्चात और अधिक लोगों को प्रेरित हो जाएंगे, न केवल भारत में, संपूर्ण भूमंडल में। जिस प्रकार से प्रचार कार्य का जो हेतु है, जिसके लिए उन्होंने जीवन समर्पण किया और जिसके लिए आज गृहस्थ आश्रम और सामाजिक प्रवृत्ति और गहन रूप में स्वीकार करेंगे। उन्होंने तो त्याग दिया सामान्य सामाजिक जीवन, ये तो पुरानी बात है, ये नया बात नहीं है, आप सब जानते हैं अच्छी तरह। लेकिन आज संन्यास आश्रम ग्रहण करके और लोगों को प्रेरित करने का आशा है हमारा। और हम श्री श्री राधा गोपीनाथ, राधानाथ जी महाराज और सब सन्यासी गण जो और गुरु भ्राता जो आज उपस्थित है, मैं उन सबको प्रार्थना कर रहा हूँ कि देवामृत प्रभु पर अपने असीम शुभेच्छा आशीर्वाद प्रदान करें और जिस प्रकार से उनका यथा सफलता प्राप्त किया अभी तक, और न 10 गुना ज़्यादा, 100 और 1000 गुना ज़्यादा होंगे भविष्य में। समाप्त करने के पहले एक और मंत्र का पाठ करने का इच्छा है, लेकिन उस मंत्र को मैंने कंठस्थ नहीं किया, शायद महाराज ने कंठस्थ किया, लेकिन आधुनिक टेक्निकी विद्या के द्वारा उस मंत्र मैंने, मेरा मोबाइल फ़ोन, क्षमा करे जनानंद महाराज, उन्होंने ये देख के बंद करने के लिए बोला, न कर्मणा न प्रजया धनेन त्यागेन ऐके अमृत त्वमाना सुहूफ परेण नाकं निहितं गुहायां विभ्रज्यते यद्यतयो विशन्ति वेदांत विज्ञान सुनिश्चितार्थास् संन्यास योगाद्यतयः शुद्ध सत्त्वाः ते ब्रह्मलोकेषु परान्तकाले परामृत परिमुच्यन्ति सर्वे धरम विपापम परमेश्मभूतं यत्पुण्डरीकं पुरमद्य सगस्थं तत्रापि दाह्रं गगनं विशोकं तस्मिन् यदन्तास् I got cut off. नहीं, तदुपस्थितव्यम्. Oh boy. Technology, right? नहीं, और है. ओ, कहाँ चले गया? यो वेदादो स्वरप्रोक्त वेदान्ते च प्रतिष्ठितः तस्य प्रकृतिलीनस्य यः परः स महेश्वरः न तत्. हरे कृष्ण. नहीं महाराज, समाप्तम. धन्यवाद. नेक्स्ट.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharne Neva Sesha Sunyavadi Pastata Desha Tarne. So I feel very grateful to be here in this, to witness this ceremony. I don't really know Devamrita very well. But I just love hearing about him. I first came to Chapati in 2007, and I can remember hearing about such a wonderful job that he did in Belgaum and what he was doing in Vrindavan. So he's been, even though I don't know him and haven't really met him, he's been an inspiration. And I just can't help but to notice how happy everyone is here. And I can tell that he's just really touched the hearts of everyone here. And everyone's just like in bliss and overjoyed to that he's actually taking this sannyas. So I just wanted to thank him very much for being such a good example and inspiration. So Hare Krishna.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I feel very elated, very honored to be here in this assembly of wonderful Vaishnavas. It's also, for me, it's the first time that I really get to know about the qualities of this wonderful Vaishnava. Unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to associate with him very intimately. I heard him sometimes speak, and I was really very touched by the depth of his knowledge and the way, the sweet nature, how he presented things in such a wonderful way. But now, by hearing about his wonderful qualities and his accomplishments in Krishna consciousness, I really feel humbled. And I feel very honored to accept him as one of my Shiksha gurus, because a sannyas, as we all know, is the guru of the varnashram system. So we all accept our sannyasis as our gurus. So it's wonderful to hear about his extraordinary qualities and knowing that we can hear from him and we can be inspired from him. I was also thinking about that moment when Srila Prabhupada gave sannyas initiation to Vishnujana Prabhu. At that time he said, when he was handing him the dandi, said, this is just formality. Now you can fulfill the purpose of sannyas by making everybody in the world dance like you dance. So I believe that you are a good dancer. And if you are not, we have here the master of all dancers, Gaurnath Raj, and your Guru Maharaj is also a wonderful dancer. So since now you are meant to accept the whole world as your family, embrace the whole world as your family, so it's your duty to inspire them in Krishna consciousness to the point that they will also sing and dance for the pleasure of the Lord. Because this is the purpose of Krishna consciousness, is to always sing the names of Krishna, glorify Krishna, and dance in ecstasy. Srila Prabhupada mentioned the meaning of the word sannyas, sannyasa. And in sat, he says, sat means the eternal absolute truth. That's Krishna. And nyasa means to renounce. To renounce what? What do we have to renounce in this world? Nothing is ours. Everything is Krishna's, we know in our philosophy. So what we have to renounce is this false sense of our identity, material identity, our false ego, and our false sense of proprietorship, and understand that actually everything belongs to Krishna, everything is Krishna's. And understand that every living entity is part of one family, Achyuta Gotra, Krishna's family. People, especially in India, they are very, very fond of their family lineage. You know, they try to trace back the origin of their families, and they stick to their families, and they think that being part of that family is a great honor. But here we are accepting Krishna's family and understanding that every living entity is part of this Krishna's family. So for the parents, I believe that your parents or very close relatives are here also. So they may think, oh, he's going to be taking sannyas, he's going away, we're going to see him very seldom, or probably never see him again. But actually it's not like that. All the effect, you are very glorious. We offer our respects to you too, because you have given him so much affection and so much love. You brought him up, to bring up a child that ultimately becomes a devotee of Krishna and attain such an exalted position of being able to renounce everything material from this world and just dedicate oneself to give Krishna consciousness to others, this is a wonderful thing. So what you have given to him, now he's going to carry that to the whole world, adding to the fact, to the understanding that the whole world is all part of Krishna's family. So I didn't have that opportunity to know Devamrita Prabhu, but I'm hankering now. I wish that from now on I will have the opportunity to associate more with him, to seek his inspiration. And here on behalf, I'm proposing something on behalf of the Chinese devotees. That's once you take sannyas, since you're going to be more free to travel, please consider China as one of your preaching places. Thank you very much.